Hello, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural episode of a series where I, a writing and movie enthusiast, try to pitch you an idea for a film or story. So, when looking for ideas as to what movie or IP I would tackle for the first episode, I would talk to a lot of my friends about what they thought would be great. It became very apparent after talking to most of them that due to my background with comics, I should try my hand at how I would tackle a cinematic universe, in the DC universe, since they're not doing too hot, both from a movie or a comic book lover standpoint. Now, just to be upfront, this pitch video is going to be different than a lot of others that I've seen, or maybe ones that you've seen, mainly due to the structure behind them. So let's basically upfront and show you what the structure is going to be. First things first, I will not be doing any casting for the film because I believe that casting ideas can cause people basically to write the story to fit that actor rather than write a very cohesive story that works well on its own. And I'm a firm believer that any actor who can capture this character should be used that day during audition, whether it's like a no name or, just somebody who's already been typecast into this role. Basically, write the story. If you find the actor for it, you implement that actor. I'm not going to write around an actor. Maybe in the future, if people really want me to, after I've already pitched the movie, I can make other videos of who I would cast for these roles based on what we have, if people are interested in that, but only if there is showcased enough interest for something like that. Or you can just ask me directly and I can let you know as well after. Or you can post in the comments what you think would fit these roles for the character or movie I am pitching towards you, which I think would be very awesome to discuss in the comments as well. But basically, all movies that are going to be pitched for this video and all future videos in this series are going to follow three criteria. One, budget. So basically, every decision or plan that is made is the idea that there is a budget for this movie, right? There are going to be limitations I should make, and I should try and limit the amount of money being spent on this film as basically, I want to spend as little money as possible while still making a good film. I know a lot of other people pitch their perfect movie, and it's just, I would get all these A-list actors that basically want to be paid millions of dollars per role, and I would have this amazing action scene with all this CGI, and it's like, oh, cool, where's the budget? No one wants that movie. So I'll be pitching with budget in mind. It doesn't mean we're not going to try and do some cool shit. It just means we'll be thinking about what kind of solutions we can come up with, which I think will make it inherently more interesting as well. The second criteria is going to be purpose. What is the purpose of this film being made? And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's to make money. Some of them are to just, hey, let's capitalize on this IP. And I will be upfront about that is the purpose. Or it is to set up future films, or it is to explore this character, or it is to set up things. And then three, the criteria is going to be story. Each scene that is being presented to you has to have a reason to push the plot or inform the audience. No scene just for the sake of having a scene or padding runtime or shortening runtime. These are made for story. They have to benefit in some way in a larger scale, especially with these DC movies. Well, anyway, with all that information out of the way, let's get to it. Now, this is going to be a long video, so, get yourself in that movie-going mood, grab some snacks, and a drink, and allow me to pitch you Batman Gotham Detective. So, when people think about Batman, the first thing that often comes to mind is an unbeatable badass who defeats anyone with prep time and a plan. And while that is certainly true, it's not all the character is, and in fact, not the reason why I believe many early readers fell in love with the character to begin with. It's the intellect and the mind to the character. So that is going to be the focus of this first film. Don't get me wrong, this will still be a superhero film, and a general audience needs to see action to stay interested, but we also want to tackle other audiences if possible. So a good middle ground needs to be found between action and detective film. Our first scene in the movie is going to open up with a shot of a ticking clock, as the sound is pretty much void in this room. The only real sound is going to be from this clock. The camera is going to slowly pan over to a shot of a small boy sitting on a couch across from a therapist. This therapist will be revealed through the set and scene as Hugo Strange. There will be no verbal confirmation or mention of his name. The age-old show don't tell. In this scene, Hugo will address a young, silent, closed-off Bruce Wayne. He will ask him if he wants to talk about it, hinting towards the death of his family. There will be no showcase of the actual scene. Everyone already knows this origin, and while it's integral to Batman, we're wanting to focus on the effects and the repercussions of this event and how it shaped Batman, not just the visual aspect of the scene. Bruce won't respond to Hugo. He will move on. Maybe saying something along the lines of, "Then let's talk about your fear of bats. I know your first instinct with fear, like many others, is to run away, but I found that those who immerse themselves and tackle their fears head on are quick to learn how trivial those fears are. By embracing your fear is the only way you can be stronger." As Hugo is saying these words, maybe we'll cut to scenes of a younger Bruce Wayne walking into a cave, deeper and deeper as the sounds of skittering bats can be heard, until he's eventually swarmed by bats surrounding him, causing him to cower in fear on the cave floor. Crying before wiping a tear and eventually standing, eyes clenched shut, before slowly opening them. This scene will be intercut with the final word from Hugo. "You know, Mr. Wayne, Alfred brought you to me because he was worried about you. If you don't confront your trauma, you will develop an unhealthy coping mechanism that will be worse for you in the long run." Now, this scene will do a multitude of things in such a short amount of time. One, you will showcase that this is trauma that shut off Bruce Wayne. It showcases Alfred cares about Bruce and offers solutions even though Bruce doesn't think it will work, which will be showcased further with the two of them. A man who cares about a boy who doesn't want to listen. And third and finally, the line Hugo Strange gives him about an unhealthy coping mechanism. Not only will it be hinting towards the boy's eventual transformation into Batman, but it allows us to segue into a badass opening title sequence. After he delivers that line, we are going to cut into scenes of Batman doing Batman things, capturing crooks, scaring others, and some of these takedowns showing the brutality of Batman. Now, I know there's a lot of things people have been mad about in the past with Batman. You know, the biggest being his code of killing. First off, he has killed in the comics before, and he has also indirectly killed people by choosing not to save someone. Now, those are rare, and definitely don't define the character, and to people who prefer Batman not to kill, I get that. You know, and in fact, I agree with that. But there needs to be a couple things that set up for future, needs to be a couple things set up for future things to happen. What I mean by that is, one, the common populace thinks that Batman is a madman and crazy. Even the other Justice League members don't know if they can trust him. As an audience or reader, you trust Batman because we see the conversations he has with Alfred in the Batcave and the moments when there is no one around. The populace and Justice League don't at first. Secondly, we'll be tackling the repercussions and mental effects this trauma would cause to a boy who decides to go on a crusade to save his city. There's no killing, but brutal anger, which will be explored as we move on. So, anyway, a montage of opening credit scenes of Batman being Batman. This will also showcase Batman slowly gaining new tech and better gear as we go along through this montage. This will be to show a passage of time. No actual set dates, just let the audience know that time has passed. It's going to be kept vague on purpose. The montage and title sequence is ended with Batman returning to the Batcave. The scene is quiet for the most part as a series of files and images appear on the Batcomputer, and a news article that mentions a man killing his family after fear-driven insanity. A blood toxicology is soon being processed on screen before Alfred appears behind Batman with a tray of food. Possibly saying something along the lines of, "Another long night, sir? I take it you didn't eat while you were out, so I've prepared you a meal." Batman will respond, "I'm fine. I need to focus on this case I've just stumbled upon." "Eat first. The case won't cease to exist in the few minutes it takes you to take care of yourself." Dialogue will continue between the two as Batman is reminded that he has a party he needs to attend to as Bruce Wayne. Alfred mentioning the persona of Batman needs to be taken off to keep up appearances. We'll cut to a scene of a party being thrown with Bruce Wayne on attendance with Alfred in attendance as well, directing the staff with helping of others. Bruce making light banter about how this job compares to being an officer in the military, where Alfred can say that at least in the military people listen to him, as a backhanded comment towards Bruce. In this scene, we'll introduce 3 important characters to the story in the film. Carmine Falcone, Basil Karlo, our main villain for the film, and a famous director that we will see through meet and greet dialogues with Alfred during the party. In this scene, we will have Basil Karlo, a past his prime movie actor, blindsiding this famous director. He will mention a role he was promised that fell through last minute. He'll be angry and mentioning that this movie was supposed to be his way back into the silver screen, a way to finally no longer be a man past his prime. In this scene, we will showcase dialogue that the director had a last-minute replacement that was just fit for the role and apologize to Basil and ask him to leave. Angry, Basil will leave, not putting up too much of a bigger fight. Going home, we see Basil's house. The scene will showcase past roles to films in which he starred. Might even be an opportunity to put some Easter eggs for fans should they want to implement some into this scene. Some Easter eggs can be films that he was in, such as Mask of the Phantasm or maybe Grey Ghost. We can see that he is showcasing his past, prominent, making it obvious that his identity is tied to the actor he once was, and in a way his youth. As he heads to a mirror, we can see him eventually checking himself out, noticing how different he looks and to what he used to look like as a youth. Eventually, he'll browse the internet, seeing who was cast in the role, Johnny Vitti, and the nephew of Carmine Falcone. Angry Basil will throw a tantrum and destroy most of his home until he eventually ends up looking at a cased outfit of one of his former roles. This will be a slasher-style monster, and will pay homage to the original origins of the Batman villain Clayface. We will cut away to see Bruce Wayne and Alfred talking as the party is being cleaned up. Alfred will say something along the lines of, "I take it you won't be heading to bed, sir?" Bruce won't say anything, as he makes his way to the Batcave and begins to re-don the cowl getting into the Batmobile. It will be revealed that he is tracking down and following Falcone to a meeting. This meeting will be used to showcase some of the other mob families and gangs that exist in Gotham. This scene will showcase the power Carmine has, as most of the crime seems to be controlled and ruled like an iron fist, showcasing why Falcone's street name is the Roman, and how he has created a powerful Roman empire among the crime families. Batman will eventually track one of the leaders in this meeting, eventually dropping and attacking this group in order to get information about a new drug being pushed in the streets with deadly side effects. In this scene, we will see Batman brutally beating these men and even almost killing one before letting go. This man being in charge of distribution, he has to know where it came from. Again, alluding to the case we saw at the beginning of the movie. The mobster will eventually reveal that he has no idea who it is, but has been investigating himself too. The drug is causing his junkies to lose their minds and off themselves, which doesn't help with repeat business. Finishing with them, he leaves the men to be picked up by the police. Alfred and Batman will eventually talk about how come in all this time Bruce hasn't taken down Carmine himself. Batman will inform Alfred, as well as the audience, that as much as it pains him to leave Falcone on the street, it is what keeps the criminal world under control. As long as he is in charge, no others will surpass him, and the others will stay in line. Until he is more confident in his ability to handle all of Gotham alone, he can't move yet. But eventually Carmine's time will come. Now, this is not just a throwaway line of dialogue or meant to have Batman appear as though he can't handle things, but instead shows a cold reality of Batman knowing his limitations and doing what is necessary in order to stop deaths he can't intervene and stop, while also setting up the future problem and plot point of not only this film, but future Batman films going forward. We'll return to Basil Karlo, who has snuck onto the set of the new movie he was supposed to star in. While on set, he can see Johnny Vitti and the rest of the crew going about business like normal, but this time accompanied by Carmine Falcone, who seems to pull the director to the side. Basil spying on the two will reveal that Carmine Falcone himself made the director place his nephew in this new role, telling him that he better ensure this debut for his cousin goes well, that he has dreams to be a movie star, and if that dream is crushed, then any future dreams the director has of continuing his career will go with it. A guard eventually stumbles upon Basil and calls out to him, but leaves by weaving through the various backstage areas and vanishing. This will showcase how well Basil knows the set they are in for future scenes. We'll have various scenes with Basil trying to come to grips with the fact that his career as an actor is over. This can be showcased either through phone calls with an agent saying no one wants him, reading reviews of himself as an actor, or articles about him, and then the eventuality that he is done. Looking at himself again, we eventually build up and cut to him deciding to make himself look younger, but him not having the money for proper plastic surgery, which could have been showcased and hinted in earlier scenes, with past bills being due, or certain utilities not working during his first return to his home. Eventually, without any other options, we'll have Basil on the streets finding a man willing to sell him a cheaply manufactured or recalled cosmetic, which is supposed to make him look youthful and young again. A chance for another Easter egg of being a product of Janus Cosmetics, which would imply a connection to Roman Sionis' Black Mask. Buying and using this as soon as he gets home, we reveal the side effects cause him to look disfigured and morphed, causing him to grow angry and terrified before eventually returning to the slasher outfit and putting it on to cover his morphed face. Arriving home will be Basil's agent, who arrived to see, in the dark, Basil wearing this outfit. Basil will tell him that Hollywood and its social elite have casted him out and left him no longer needed. That the agent was supposed to be his friend and be on his side. He learned that he is now working for Johnny Vitti. The scene will eventually end in an argument and reveal of Basil's real face, horrifying this agent, asking what happened to him. Angry, Basil will kill the agent eventually and leave. When asleep, images of the scene will play again in his head of the face and expression his agent made before his eventual murder. This will eventually awaken Basil, who will head to the bathroom to wash his face, only to see that his appearance is now that of the agent. Scared at first, he'll eventually come to grips with this reality and get a plan. Quickly returning to the home, he will replace and take the role of his agent, even taking his cell phone to read a text from Johnny Vitti of their meeting still being on later for the week. Basil will then proceed to fake his own suicide. The rest of the film will be used to showcase the observation skills of Batman. As using his morphing abilities and now being the agent he will take his ability to meet with other members of the cast and kill them one by one, revealing himself in his younger appearance and occasionally turning into them to keep up appearances to the outside world until he can get complete revenge. Through these various meetings and occasional run-ins with Bruce Wayne, we will have the detective notice small details about them that are off. Certain speech patterns, favored hands, and even postures that seem a little off. Allowing Bruce to start on a case in the Batcave. Alfred will eventually grow curious, as it seems Batman is investigating murders and missing person cases for people who by all accounts are considered alive and their locations known. Batman will eventually begin to investigate the homes of each member of the cast, noticing small details, such as the lack of upkeep to some, or families feeling isolated when they are normally in touch with a murdered cast member. Batman will eventually have no doubts they are missing or dead, but not sure how or to what end. Saving Johnny for last, Basil will eventually approach the man as his younger self and kill the man for taking everything from him just because of his connections. He blames him for turning him into the monster he is now. This death will be the only one not covered up. While leaving the building before the body is discovered, a security car will catch the younger appearance of Basil Karlo leaving the studio before discovering the body of the now deceased Johnny Vitti. As Basil returns home, excited about his kills, and happy, he goes to bed only to wake up before being snatched and brought to an unknown location. The bag will be pulled off his head to reveal Carmine Falcone, who learned of him murdering his nephew by a paid-off guard at the studio. Not caring why he did it, Falcone plans to get even and kill Basil. Believing to have properly executed Basil, the group begins to head back into the car before the body begins to move some more. Confused, they turn around to see Basil standing, looking at them. They begin to unload gunfire onto him as his body absorbs every shot, as Basil smiles, realizing he is, as far as he believes, immortal. This is the final full reveal to Clayface in all his glory as he transforms into the monstrous clay monster we all know and love. Without wasting any time, he begins to kill and murder all the men, including Carmine Falcone. Looking at him, he decides to take the form of Carmine himself. As he does, he wastes no time returning to Falcone's home, and as he enters with a smile, he states that there is a time for some changes. Eventually, we'll cut back to Batman, who is beginning to be alerted by police radio all over Gotham, as it seems to be believed that Carmine Falcone has waged war on all other families. It's a bloodbath, and there's open gang war in the streets. Batman will immediately know that this isn't Carmine, and Alfred and Batman will act as he goes into the streets, stopping various crime and shootouts with his Batmobile and gadgets. Another action scene to showcase the various gadgets Batman has at his disposal, with Alfred in his ear to guide him through the city chaos. Eventually, Batman will catch up to where Basil is, using Carmine as his appearance, shooting at and waging war with a crime family. The final showdown will appear as Batman arrives, wasting no time telling Basil to stop this. However, he is causing a gang war that will rip the city apart. As he addresses Basil, he will call him by name, already deducing who he is. Since the jig is up, Basil will revert to his younger appearance. The men who are with him freaked out before he orders them to kill Batman. Basil shows no care if Gotham is being torn apart, believing that a city with corruption and selfishness doesn't deserve to be sat over. Batman will ask about the innocents caught in the crossfire, and Basil will reply that he believes there is no innocence in Gotham. The fight will eventually end with Batman finding a way to electrify Karlo and knock him out. With the movie now concluded, and Basil charged with the murders of all cast members, he is donned with the moniker Clayface with the news. Alfred will express his concern for the future of Gotham, and how things will only get worse with the fuse being lit by Basil. After the credits, we will see a scene with a young boy attempting to steal parts from the Batmobile. Batman will catch him doing so, and the boy will run away, returning to his home, which is clear to see has terrible living conditions. While there, he will attack Batman before being pinned to the wall. The boy will tell him to just bring him to jail. At least there he'll have a better place to sleep and a proper meal. Looking around, Batman will see his living conditions before looking back at the boy. Where are your parents? He'll ask. What parents? He'll argue back. What are you waiting for? Am I going to jail or not? We will have a brief moment of pause as we look towards Batman under the cowl. And it is there where the scene will end, setting up Jason Todd for future movies. So, throughout most of this movie, certain scenes can be reworked and changed. I did not write the scenes perfectly because there are some changes that could happen to them. But the whole purpose of this film is to showcase that Bruce Wayne is a detective. He is not just a man who beats the shit out of people, but we will still showcase he can fight. Most of the budget for this will be simple scenes. Obviously, they're going to be alleyways and people's apartments in a set, which can obviously be used for different things, the Wayne Manor. So a lot of the set pieces are not that insane. Most of the budget would go towards the finale where it should go, which is going to be the city in chaos and the gang war that's happening between it. There's a lot of room for Easter eggs in there as well, if people wanted. You could showcase people who may look like they work for a not yet revealed Penguin or vice versa. The purpose of the film is to set up Jason Todd for future films, to showcase Batman as a detective, to show that without Carmine there, the city is now going to be chaos, which is going to allow us to set up future villains and future movies. And also showcase that Batman has a lot of anger issues and pain inside of him, which we will see when he is fighting people in each scene. I did not write out exactly that is happening, but in each scene where he is fighting people, we want to show the brutality and him holding back and wanting to do more. And the idea of him believing there's innocence, and then you have Clayface who doesn't believe there's innocence. It showcases maybe that Bruce believed that he was innocent, or other people like him is what he's holding on to, which would be really, it shows you the core of who he is. Like, even with all this, he still believes there's innocent people, and he believes that certain people shouldn't be in that crossfire. And it hammers home his not killing rule as well, because he won't kill Basil. He just wants to get him to stop. He even tries to talk him down. And then we also get some cool action scene with Clayface. And it's a different type of villain for him to fight throughout the film, and I think it does a really good job of setting up for future people. But that's my pitch for Batman Gotham Detective. For multiple reasons, I chose Clayface. He doesn't get used a lot, and I think he's fucking dope. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any ideas that excite you about this? Is there anything that you would probably do different with, like, pacing or anything like that? Any Easter eggs that you think would be really cool to implement in these certain scenes, or things like that? I will be continuing this series with another DC movie. We probably won't just continue doing the DCEU the whole way through, because, it might get boring if we do that. But the next one in the DCEU films will be a Superman film, which we're going to call Superman, Man of Tomorrow. And it will, how we introduce Superman into my DCEU and the rest of the Justice League and everything going forward. Same with Villainy going forward as well. But yeah, if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. This was a long thing to write. It's not so much coming up with the idea of the film; it's presenting it that's hard, and it takes a lot of effort to put in to this type of thing, you know, and also to try and make it more entertaining. Let me know if there are certain ways that you would like me to present information that make it more entertaining. But other than that, I think this pitch is pretty much over. Remember to like it if you did enjoy it, because it helps more people see it, which then helps it get out there, which allows me to continue to make more of these. Subscribe if you haven't. We talk about a lot of film and pop culture on this channel. But until the next video, remember that the only cure for boredom is just a little bit of stupidity.